Welcome friends to my Python classes. In this video we are going to learn about little more on loops. Here we are going to accept a list of integer and then we are going to display the smallest integer what user has supplied. Now the list of integers will have exactly n number of integers. Now what does that mean? That means that we are going to accept the size of the list from the user during the execution of the program. So for that, what we are going to write in the code, let us start. So I'm going to take the function get smallest. Meanwhile, I'll give you a clear suggestion that if you have not watched the previous video on the same topic where we are discussing or progressively we are moving to a higher difficulty level slowly, if you have not seen the previous video, you will not be able to understand this properly. So if you are willing to understand the concept of this program, please see the previous video on the same topic. So here we have taken the function name as get smallest, and here I'm going to accept the number of elements that user wants to put in. Enter the number of elements. Now number of elements is exactly the size of the list. So I'll be doing this program using both the loops, while loop as well as for loop. And as usual, we are going to start with while loop because while loop is the basic form of loop. So here what I will do is I will take a counter variable or a control variable which is going to consider a loop which is going to start from 1 and go till n. And meanwhile what I will do is I'm going to take a variable called sn, and this sn is going to initially hold 0. Now what is the purpose it is holding a 0? I will explain it later, but for now let me write the code which is going to allow me to run the loop for n number of times. So here what you can see, we are accepting the value of num from the user. In all my videos you can see the basic variables type that I have kept is integer, but if you wish you can take it as float as per the situation's demand. So in this case I just wanted to accept integers, so I have taken it as integer, and if I want to take it as a real number then I will definitely consider it as float. So here I will write enter the element. So what element user is going to supply, based on that I will be deciding whether it is smaller or not. But one thing that I need to do in this case is I need to put one if also. Now what this if is going to set, if the value of I is equals to 1, that means if it is the first input, then in that case I should consider that value as the smallest number. Now if the value of I is not equals to 1, in that case I don't need to do anything, I just can go silent. But I'll be explaining you this thing in details later, but let me first code it. The coding is done for the loop part. Now I am ready to print the smallest number. Now let us see whether this runs or not. So I'll be calling the function. And I'll not make it much lengthy. I will just accept 4 numbers and then I'll see whether the element which I want to pick up, that is the smallest element, is really coming out as my output or not. I'm taking a negative value also, and then 56. So it has successfully picked up the smallest element in this whole list. So now what is happening? Let us try to understand. For that, I'm going to take you to this screen area. Here, initially the value of I is going to be 1. I is equals to 1. Now Sm, which I have set as 0. And then the value which is going to come from the user is num. Now, at the initial stage, I am not sure what user is going to supply. And now, let me consider that the value of n, that means the size of the list, is what? Is 4. So, what is happening here? The value of I is 1, so Sm is 0. Now, here, will the loop run? Yes, it is going to run because it is satisfying the condition. The value of I is 1, 1 is less than or equals to 4. So it is going to very much satisfy and it's going to move in. So what is the first statement inside the loop? The first statement inside the loop is to accept the value which user supplies in num. So I'm considering that user has supplied 45. So what is happening? The value 45 that user has accepted is the first element in the list. Now, do you think I should keep the value of Sm still as 0? No. Why no? The reason is, in this process, if all my values what user will be supplying is a positive number, then the condition that I have written below it is not going to satisfy. And the value of Sm will never change. So if, unlike this sample, if user puts in all positive numbers and if I initialize sum, if I put the initial value of sum as 0, then in that case I will never get the smallest of the list because I have assumed that the smallest value is 0, whereas the reality says that I don't have 0 in the entire list. So that is not going to be a practical idea. So what we actually should do is, we should count the first element which I am going to accept from the user as the smallest element, irrespective of the actual thing. So this is just an assumption which I am going to now make. So what will now happen? This Sm is now going to become 45. Why so? Because it is going to satisfy this condition. The value of I is 1 in the initial stage, and if it is 1, it signifies that it is the first element which is user putting in. So which the user is putting in is 45. So far in the list I have 45 and I have assumed that 45 is the lowest value that I have so far. Now the next condition which is going to be checking whether the Sm is greater than the number which user has supplied. So in this case, in fact, right now I have made sum and num the same value. So this does not at all going to satisfy because the value of sum and num are exactly equal. So this will not run. Now what is going to happen? The value of I is going to increase and it's going to become 2. Now if it becomes 2, we have exhausted all the statements inside the loop. So what shall we do next? We should go and check once more whether the condition is true or not. Yes, the condition is true because the value of I now is 2, n was 4, so 2 is less than or equals to 4, so it is going to satisfy. So what will now happen? The value of num is going to be accepted. So the previous value 45 is going to be overwritten and the next value, which in this case when I was running the code, I have put was 78. So the value 78 goes into it. Now, is the value of I still 1? No. So this part is not going to execute. So if this part does not execute, we are going to go to the next condition. Is the value of Sm greater than the current num? No. Sum is 45 and num is 78. So if Sm is 45, it is not greater than 78. So nothing of this kind is going to happen. The value of Sm will not change. But what will change? The next statement, which is not part of if, unconditionally it is going to become 3. Now what will happen? Again, I have exhausted all the statements inside the loop. So I will go and check the condition. If the condition is true, I will allow the flow of control to once again enter inside the loop body. So 3 is less than equals to 4. So this is satisfying. So if it is satisfying, it is going to come inside. And again, I'll be taking the value of num. So this time what I have done, I have accepted minus 34. And this is going to bring a change. What change it's going to bring? Will the first condition satisfy? No. The value of I is not 1, so this will not run. Now, will the value Sm greater than num? Yes. Sm is 45 and num this time user has supplied is minus 34. So what will now happen? In this case, the value of Sm has to change because we so far have accepted 3 values. The first value was 45. We assumed it as the smallest. Next value was 78. So out of 45 and 78, we still have 45 as the smallest number. Now when the third number was taken, it is minus 34. So now out of 45 and 75, 45 is smaller. But in the list of 45, 78, minus 34, we should change our assumption. And this condition where we have written if Sm greater than num is just to change that assumption that we need to make. So now what is going to happen? This 45 is going to be removed and this is going to set 34 in it. Not 34, sorry, it is negative 34. And now what will happen? The value of I is going to increase by 1. It is going to become 4. Now all 4 statements got executed. What I need to do is I need to go and check whether this is going to satisfy or not. Yes, the condition satisfies because 4 is less than equals to 4. So once more it is going to accept another value, another element in the list. So this time what is user going to supply? User is going to supply 56. Now if user supplies 56 in the list, what will now happen? Is I equals to 1? No. So this will not run. Is Sm, which is minus 34, greater than 56? No. So there will be no change in Sm. And then the value of I is going to become 5. Now if it becomes 5, now what is going to happen? We have exhausted all the statements. Now we need to go and check whether the test condition is satisfying or not. Here the test condition is not satisfying. And if it is not satisfying, what shall we do? We should not allow the flow of control to enter inside the loop anymore. We should straight away come to this statement and what we are going to print. The smallest element is the value of Sm, which is minus 34. So this is how this program executed. Now I'll be showing you the same program, how we need to do it using a for loop. And in that process, what will I do is I will make some small changes. I will consider the initializing statement, which is I equals to 1, the test condition, which is to limit the value, and the modification, which is going to tell me how the value should move in one single statement. So how to do it? I'll remove it from here. For that I'm going to require another change that I'll explain. I'll write for I in range n. So this goes very well, but here if I consider this range, the value of I is going to range from 0 to n minus 1. So when the value of I is going to be 0, that time I will be taking the first element. So what I should do here, I should make a little change in this. So I should make it I equals to 0, and this statement also needs to be removed. Now that's it, our program is done. So I'll run it in a similar way with the same set of inputs. So what do I get? I get first value is 45, second is 78, then minus 34, and then 56. So it is going to show me minus 34 is the smallest element. So this is how the program is going to run. Now on the same basis, you can make another program where you will be finding out the largest in the list. So there you will assume that the first element which user is supplying is the largest, just like this. And what you need to do is, you need to do something where the assumption should be always updated when the next number is coming. If the assumed number is greater than the current number what user has supplied, then we don't need to make any change. But if it is otherwise, if the assumed number becomes smaller than the value which user is supplying currently, that means we have got a larger number than the previously assumed largest number. So we should update it. So on the basis of that, please try making new programs and keep coding, explore more and more, and in the process, if you find any doubt, if you have any query, you can definitely comment it. I will surely cover that in my videos. Thank you. Happy coding.